What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. I just want to preface this by saying I'm recording this on Saturday. So the last game I've seen from the Red Sox was Friday night. A historically, utterly bad beat down by the Red Sox. I was actually at that game, and it was quite literally one of the most miserable experiences I have had in my entire life. It was crazy how bad that was. So that's kind of the mindset I have going into this video. Again, I have no idea how the Red Sox performed yesterday, and if you're watching this after the Red Sox game on Sunday, I don't know how they did there either. But I've been trying to avoid this video for a while. And the reason for that is I just simply don't like talking about this. This is something that's extremely hard to talk about, and it's something that really upsets me. So I've been avoiding it. But between the fact that the Red Sox got torn apart last night, Friday, and the fact that all of this stuff coming out about our homegrown players over the All-Star break, it's been all over media. I feel like I'm at the point now as a content creator that it wouldn't be fair to you guys if I didn't make a video about it. So we're going to talk about today is what the Red Sox are doing to Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. We're going to talk about why the Red Sox may be doing what they're doing. We're going to talk about how the Red Sox can make it right, and we're going to talk about some of the historical implications that this has on this Red Sox team. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this video as well, because it helps these out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. I really hate to admit this because for the most part, I'm extremely optimistic on this channel, but we're at the point now where every single loss after this All-Star break is getting us one step closer to the Red Sox deciding to sell at the deadline, especially when you're losing in historic fashion. Now, we've talked about what selling might look like in some of our past videos with very specific guys, but today we're focusing on the two cornerstone players of this team, Rafael Devers and Xander Bogaerts, because not only does every loss get us closer to selling at the deadline, but on top of that, news over the All-Star break came out on what the Red Sox possibly offered both of them during their contract negotiations this offseason. So we're going to start with that. This All-Star break, it came out that the Red Sox had offered Xander Bogaerts 4 years and $90 million. It also came out that the Red Sox had offered Rafael Devers the same contract that Matt Olson got from the Atlanta Braves, which was 8 years, $168. To break it down into annual salary, that's 4 years of Xander Bogaerts getting paid $21 million, and it's 8 years of Rafael Devers getting paid $21 million as well. What? I understand that in negotiations, you start at your lowest point and they start their highest point. You guys kind of find a middle ground. But when you're talking about two of your cornerstone players, you're talking about the most talented Red Sox player since David Ortiz and your captain, the leader, the glue of this team, you're going to start Xander Bogaerts at $21 million when he already took a team-friendly deal that was $20 million. So in your mind, if you're the Boston Red Sox, the value of Xander Bogaerts is just $1 million more a year than what you had previously offered him. And Rafael Devers is poised to make upwards of $30 million a year, if not more. So with Rafael Devers, your starting point is $8-9 million below what the market value for Rafael Devers is. It just doesn't seem right to me. It's just simply not a good look for our franchise. And to be honest with you, I don't know how big of an issue this would be if it wasn't for the history of the Red Sox kind of screwing over their homegrown talent, right? You look at guys like Jon Lester. For those of you who don't know, who are newer Red Sox fans, Jon Lester at one point was a homegrown ace of the Boston Red Sox. He's a potential Hall of Famer, and he wanted to spend his career here with Boston. But the Red Sox decided they did not want to pay Jon Lester and traded him to the Oakland A's, where Jon Lester finished out his season, went to free agency, and signed a very moderate deal with the Chicago Cubs. It wasn't anything crazy. It was a very average, league average deal. The Red Sox just simply didn't want to pay. Jon Lester went on to help the Cubs break their curse in 2016, and again, now he is starting to look like a legitimate Hall of Fame candidate. Examples of this include Mookie Betts, who I don't think I need to get into huge detail as to what happened with Mookie Betts. We all know what happened with Mookie Betts, so I'm not going to dive into the specifics of that one. But there are other guys too that kind of fly under the radar for homegrown talent that the Red Sox just didn't want to pay, and that's Jacoby Ellsbury and Andrew Benintendi. And those are just two names I thought of off the top of my head. Now, obviously, every situation is different. The Jacoby Ellsbury situation was much different than the Mookie Betts, and the Andrew Benintendi was much different than the Jon Lester. But the similar story remains the same. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, well, Benintendi's a league average outfielder, not exactly great. Imagine Benintendi in this outfield right now instead of Jarren Duran or Jackie Bradley Jr. This team would be in a much better position. So you got to look at that way as well. This is why it's scaring so many Red Sox fans right now. You have your team captain again, and you have your most talented player since David Ortiz, and both of them are getting the same exact treatment we saw with the rest of the guys that I mentioned. It seems like the Red Sox are developing a pattern. They don't want to pay their best players, and they think that, oh, we'll just kind of supplement them with either guys from the farm, or we're going to sign a big name free agent that doesn't really do well in Boston, that hasn't proven that he can play in Boston. We're going to shell out a ton of money and watch them kind of fall on their face, right? Talking about Hanley Ramirez, Carl Crawford, Pablo Sandoval, and those are just names off the top of my head. So that's kind of the pattern that we've been seeing with our homegrown talent, and it's a really scary one at that. And on top of that, with every loss coming, and again, that threat of the Red Sox being sellers at the deadline becoming more and more of a reality, again, especially after Friday night's loss, man. It was debilitating watching them get beat down like they were a bunch of little leaguers facing the Toronto Blue Jays, right? It just wasn't fun, and that doesn't exactly bode confidence in the front office that, hey, this team's got a chance to win, let's really invest. We've seen in the past with Mookie Betts, with John Lester, these homegrown national talents that we trade away because we don't want to either pay them or we don't think that we're going to be competitive, and they don't want to waste money on their salary, and it's really, really scary. So when you're looking at every loss now, you're looking at selling at the deadline, which could possibly mean putting Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers on that trading block. I'm going to ease your minds a little bit with that, and the one thing I am going to say is that I would be absolutely shocked if the Red Sox traded Rafael Devers, mostly because even if they can't come to some agreement, they still have another year of him under control, which means that at the very least, we can get another half year with Rafael Devers before they decide, we're not going to sign him, let's trade him away. The other kind of good thing about this scenario is that Xander Bogaerts in his contract has a no trade clause, which means that if the Red Sox wanted to trade him, he would have to approve it and basically say, yes, this is the package that's okay with me, I want to go to this team. Essentially, right? So it's going to be more difficult to trade Bogaerts than it would be for a lot of other big free agents that we have on this team. So both of them getting traded is very, very unlikely. If we're talking about one of the two, Xander Bogaerts getting traded is definitely more likely than Devers, but at the same time, it's still going to be difficult for him to get traded. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be having to have this conversation. We shouldn't be having to have videos made about this scenario. The Red Sox are one of the most historic franchises in all of sports. It's one of the most profitable franchises in all of sports. It's the most expensive place to go for a fan in all of baseball. They are rolling in money, and yet here we are debating whether or not we're trading away cornerstone players. And on top of that, we're not just debating trading them away. We're debating who we're going to sign in the offseason, as if we have to choose between one of these two. It makes no sense to me that we're even having this conversation at all. If you're the Boston Red Sox, both of these guys should be absolute no-brainers. Even if you wanted to start going into statistical arguments, right? Devers isn't exactly a great defensive third baseman. Xander Bogaerts is having a little bit of a power decline, right? But you also got to look at the other statistics too. You can't just look at the bad parts of these. Rafael Devers is having a historic offensive season in terms of Red Sox baseball. Xander Bogaerts is having the best defensive year of his career. He's also hitting for average way higher than anyone else on this team. And on top of that, there are non-statistical factors that make both of these guys great. Rafael Devers turning into a leader of this Red Sox team is something that is extremely important for these young guys coming up. The fact that you have a guy who many consider a top 5 hitter in all of baseball, who's number 4 in AL MVP voting right now, as a mentor to your younger talent, the guys coming in, right? That's huge for a Red Sox team. And then you add Xander Bogaerts on top of that. If you're the Boston Red Sox, both of these guys are no-brainers, and both of these guys should get signed. It's just a matter of whether or not the Red Sox want to shell out the money. And every single day, every single thing we've seen coming out is making me less and less optimistic that they even want to try. It seems like this Red Sox front office has completely given up the idea that big-name players deserve big-time money. They think that they can field a team of talent that is under the radar, that isn't exactly a superstar, but fills holes and fills statistical needs, as opposed to having these cornerstone players that you build around. And it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. I've been avoiding this video for a while, like I said, so let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on re-signing Devers? What are your thoughts on re-signing Xander? What are your thoughts on the Red Sox at the deadline? Because it's getting more and more likely that the Red Sox are going to sell. So let me know all your thoughts on everything the Red Sox, the front office, Chaim Bloom, all these guys are doing to this Red Sox team down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on this video. It helps it out a ton. And if you could do me a huge favor, share with a friend or family member who loves the Red Sox as much as you do. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.